The movie starts a little while after the last one ended. Yuri Boyka got away from the Gorgon prison and is now living freely. He's competing in a secret martial arts contest in Kiev, Ukraine. You can see him deep in thought, sweating after winning a fight against another opponent. Now, the scene changes to Chornyachalmy prison in Russia. They host mixed martial arts fights there, and there's a tough champion called Koshmar who hasn't lost yet. He's a big guy, and he's been defeating his opponents quickly, gaining a lot of fame even beyond the prison walls. One day, Boyka went to a church in Kiev. It seemed like he visited often and gave some of his money and religious books to the church. The priest, aware that Boyka fights in the streets, suggested he find a different job instead of making money through violence. He warned that violence would only bring him sadness eventually. Boyka seemed to consider the advice, but for now, he couldn't find another job that paid as well as street fighting to support himself. Later, Boyka headed to the Kiev Sports Center for his training session. There, his manager Kirill informed him about a significant MMA fight happening in Budapest. However, before Boyka could join the tournament, he needed to impress talent scouts during the preliminary round. This championship was something Boyka had eagerly awaited, so he trained intensely. During the preliminaries, he faced off against Victor, a tough opponent. Their fight was intense, but Boyka landed a decisive blow, earning the trust of the talent scouts and securing his spot in the prestigious martial arts tournament in Budapest. While going back home, Boyka notices Victor being taken away in an ambulance. He finds out that Victor got badly hurt, with a serious head injury after their fight. Boyka feels really guilty, remembering what the priest said about how violence, even for a good reason, causes pain for everyone involved. The following day, Carol informs Boyka that Victor didn't make it. Boyka feels even worse, full of regret for what happened. He starts questioning why he's been fighting all this time and what it's really worth. After finding out about Victor's wife, Alma, who lives in Russia, Boyka is determined to meet her and say sorry. Kirill warns him about the risks, especially with the Budapest tournament coming up, but Boyka is adamant. He asks Kirill to arrange a fake passport so he can go to Russia and apologize to Alma. Meanwhile, in the Russian city of Drovny, Alma mourns Victor's death during his funeral procession. Later, a mafia boss named Zorab approaches her, revealing Victor's debts and pressuring her to settle them. Since Alma didn't have the money to pay Victor's debt, she pleaded with Zorab to let her work it off another way. Zorab agreed, and Alma started working for him until she cleared the debt. Soon after, Boyka arrived in Drovny and headed to the address Victor mentioned in his letter, which turned out to be a community center where kids were playing soccer. Boyka saw Alma talking to a young girl before a man interrupted them. Boyka followed Alma and discovered she was taken to a fancy club owned by Zorab, which was actually an underground fighting venue where Alma worked as a waitress. At the club, Boyka watches a fight involving Igor Kazmir, who's very arrogant, reminding Boyka of his own past. But Igor's arrogance is even worse, which irritates Boyka. Alma, noticing Boyka watching, approaches him and asks why he's following her. Before they can explain, Zorab's men show up and chase Boyka away. Frustrated, Boyka fights off Zorab's men while waiting for Alma to finish her shift. But Zorab arrives and warns Boyka to stay away from Alma. With more of Zorab's men showing up, Boyka is forced to leave, knowing he's being watched closely. The next day, Boyka went back to the community center to talk to Alma. He confessed that her husband died because of something he did and offered to help pay off his debts. But Alma seemed upset and refused his help, telling him to leave. Meanwhile, Zorab was frustrated because his underground fighting business was suffering due to a lack of good fighters. Wanting to help Alma, Boyka struck a deal with Zorab to become a fighter in exchange for Alma's freedom. Zorab agreed but set a condition. Boyka had to win 3 fights and follow all the rules. It turned out Zorab already knew who Boyka was. Meanwhile, Karol contacted Boyka, urging him to return to Ukraine soon. Boyka asked for a week, saying he had important matters to take care of. As Boyka was getting ready to train, Alma visited him and told him to leave Russia because she didn't need his help. But Boyka explained that he wasn't helping her for her sake, but to make up for his own past mistakes. He didn't mind if she didn't want his help. At the training center, Boyka couldn't focus on training because another fighter kept bothering him. He quickly took care of the fighter with a light kick. Boyka's first fight begins against Boris Tarsov, an opponent he can easily defeat. After the fight, Igor arrogantly tries to warn him. In the dressing room, Alma visits Boyka and gives him a drink. She invites him to use the training room at the community center, where her late husband used to train. Boyka practices there in the following days, cheered on by excited children. In the second fight, Boyka faces the Ozerov brothers, two opponents attacking him together to overwhelm him. Boyka sustains a minor back injury but sees Alma, which boosts his fighting spirit. He fights back and defeats the brothers. The next day, Alma visits Boyka at the community center while he's practicing and applies ointment to ease his back pain. Boyka asks Alma why she doesn't leave the city. Alma explains that the community center was her and Victor's dream. She can't leave the children in the neighborhood, as without the center, they might turn to crime like joining gangs or getting involved in drugs. The scene changes to Zorab bribing Koichev, a senior police officer, to bring Koshmar to his club at any cost. Zorab believes Koshmar, a tall, fierce, and relentless fighter, will benefit him greatly. He's confident that Boyka won't be able to defeat Koshmar. Later, Zorab confronts Alma and learns she's been helping Boyka by providing him with a place to train. Zorab falsely claims that Boyka killed her husband in a fight in Kiev, but Alma refuses to believe it. Angry, Zorab threatens Alma and Boyka. Soon after, Kyril calls Boyka and tells him that a bus will pick him up at 9 o'clock that night. Boyka's final fight is that night, and he must secure Alma's freedom before returning to Ukraine. When Boyka arrives at the hotel, Alma is already in her room waiting for him. She asks Boyka to explain what happened on the night her husband died. Initially hesitant to share the story, Boyka eventually decides Alma deserves to know the truth. After learning the truth, Alma is deeply disappointed in Boyka and walks away in tears. In the third match, Boyka faces Igor Kazmir, the arrogant fighter who talks big but lacks skill. Boyka defeats Igor but misses the bus Kyril promised him. As Boyka is about to leave, Zorab insists he fights one more match against Koshmar, his top fighter. Boyka agrees reluctantly, wanting to help Alma. Koshmar is big and strong, and initially Boyka struggles to hurt him, getting badly beaten instead. But in the second round, Boyka finds an opening and starts landing hits on Koshmar. In the intense fight, Boyka manages to break one of Koshmar's arms and a leg, ultimately kicking him out of the ring, knocking him out. Everyone cheers for Boyka's victory. After all of Zorab's best fighters are defeated, he becomes furious and takes Alma hostage. He orders his men to kill Boyka. Boyka, lying helpless after being badly beaten, sees Alma crying in fear as she's taken away. He gathers his strength and fights back against Zorab's henchmen. After defeating them, he goes after Zorab to save Alma. One of Zorab's associates shoots Boyka in the stomach, but Boyka retaliates and shoots him. Despite his injuries, Boyka catches up to Zorab and Alma. Zorab threatens to kill Alma unless Boyka drops his gun, so Boyka does as he's told. Alma sees a chance and bites Zorab's finger, causing him pain and freeing herself. Boyka seizes the opportunity and attacks Zorab, punching him and strangling him to death. After the ordeal, Boyka, severely injured and drained of strength, collapses into Alma's arms. He asks for her forgiveness for what happened to her husband. Before Alma can respond, Koichev and his men arrive and arrest Boyka. 6 months later, Alma visits Boyka in Chornya Chalmy prison, wearing a white dress. She brings a painting of Boyka practicing, made by the children from the community center. Alma tells Boyka she has forgiven him and thanks him for saving her. The movie ends with Boyka being welcomed back as the top fighter in Chornya Chalmy prison. He will keep fighting there to become the most skilled martial artist in the world. So the moral of the story is when life throws you a Zorab, just bite back. And who knew, forgiveness might just come knocking when you least expect it, especially if you're sporting a snazzy painting and a killer bite mark.